The night wind, carrying the dust of the wilderness, swept across Joshua's face. He stood on the banks of the Jordan River, gazing at the turbulent waters. It was the season of harvest, and the river was overflowing, its mighty current roaring as it crashed against the banks. This river was like an impassable wall, standing between the people of Israel and the Promised Land. Behind him were 600,000 people, their eyes filled with a mix of emotions. The legend of the Red Sea parting 40 years ago, the weariness of wandering in the desert, and the fear of the unknown path ahead. They looked to Joshua, their eyes filled with unspoken questions. How are we to cross? A heavy feeling settled in Joshua's heart, but he refused to be consumed by the problem before him. He recalled the voice of God, a voice clear and powerful, like a rock in the midst of the river. See, I am about to perform a miracle, and the waters of the Jordan will stand up in a heap before you. He turned and looked at the priests who were carrying the Ark of the Covenant. The Ark was a symbol of God's presence, their only hope. He commanded them in a loud voice, "You are to go ahead of the people. When your feet touch the river's edge, the water will be cut off." The priests looked at one another, their faces showing no hesitation, only unwavering obedience. They lifted the heavy ark and stepped, one by one, toward the seemingly unconquerable torrent. The water was icy cold and surged around their feet, as if mocking their smallness and foolishness. The foot of the first priest, trembling slightly, entered the water. Nothing happened. The river continued to flow. The second priest, the third, the fourth. One by one, their feet stepped firmly into the water, and at the very moment the foot of the last priest touched the river, the miracle occurred. The mighty rush of the Jordan seemed to be held back by an invisible hand. The water flowing from upstream piled up in a great heap far away, and the water downstream was completely cut off. The riverbed became dry ground. The muddy riverbed was made solid by God's power. The very path that had been a torrent of danger and despair was now a clear highway to the Promised Land. 600,000 people held their breath, watching the incredible sight. They silently walked down onto the riverbed, stepping onto the dry ground. There was no mud, only firm earth. They crossed one by one, just as their ancestors had crossed the Red Sea 40 years before. When everyone had crossed safely, the priests emerged from the middle of the river. The instant their feet touched the opposite bank, the towering wall of water collapsed with a roar, and the river rushed back, covering the path they had just walked. This was no coincidence, no stroke of luck. This was the power of faith and the fulfillment of God's promise. On that day, the Jordan River was cut off for them, proving that with God, nothing is impossible. When you are willing to step out in faith, the seemingly impossible path will be revealed to you.